I wasn't sure what to expect when I signed up for the late afternoon yoga class. Honestly, I told myself it was about getting in shape. But the truth? It was her. Clara. She was nothing like the women I'd been around in college. No forced laughs, no chasing attention. She carried herself with the kind of ease that made you notice every deliberate movement. Mid-40s, hair streaked with natural silver, eyes like she knew every secret you hadn't told anyone. The studio smelled faintly of lavender and rain. Someone must have left the window cracked. Outside, the sky was the heavy, dark gray that promised a storm, but inside it was warm, quiet, except for the soft pads of her bare feet on the wooden floor. "Relax your shoulders," she said, adjusting my posture from behind. Her hands were cool, light, but the second she touched me, my breath snagged in my chest. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Then she stepped around to face me. "You're tied in all the right places." Her smile was quick, almost playful, but her gaze lingered just a fraction too long, like she wanted to see how I'd take it. I laughed, too quickly, too nervously, and she tilted her head. "You're young," she said, more to herself than to me. "You'll loosen up." We went through the poses, but my focus kept breaking. I'd hear the stretch of the mat under her feet, the way she breathed through a slow movement, the faint scent of her skin when she passed close. There was nothing inappropriate about it, not exactly. But every time she corrected my form, I felt the air tighten between us. When the class ended, the others packed up fast, heading back into the wet evening. I lingered, pretending to check my phone. "You're not in a hurry?" she asked, wiping down a mat. "Not really," I said. "It's peaceful here." She gave me this small, almost regretful smile, like she knew exactly what I meant, and maybe wished she didn't. "Do you want tea?" she asked, gesturing toward the back room. I hesitated. This wasn't a coffee shop where small talk faded harmlessly. This was her space, her sanctuary. Saying yes felt like stepping into something I couldn't step back from. But I said it anyway. "Yeah." She led the way, and I followed, past shelves lined with folded blankets, a stack of singing bowls, and a half-open window letting in the smell of rain-soaked pavement. In the small kitchen, the hum of the kettle filled the silence between us. She handed me a mug, her fingers brushing mine just long enough to make me wonder if she'd meant it. "You're new here," she said quietly. "Most people come for months before I learn their names." "Do you want mine?" I asked. Her eyes flicked up to meet mine, and there was something unreadable there. "I already know it," she said. The kettle clicked off, but neither of us moved to pour. Outside, the first drops of rain tapped against the window. Then her phone lit up on the counter. She glanced at the screen, and whatever name she saw made her smile vanish. She didn't answer it. She just turned the phone face down, slid it away, and looked back at me. Only this time, she didn't smile. Clara didn't say anything for a while after putting her phone down. She poured the tea slowly, steam curling between us like it didn't want to leave. "You live nearby?" she asked finally. "A couple blocks," I said. "Moved here last month." "Just me." She nodded, eyes still on the tea. "I remember moving here. My husband." She stopped herself, took a quiet sip. "Ex-husband now. He thought it would be good for us." It wasn't. There was no bitterness in her voice, just the kind of tired acceptance you hear in someone who's told the story too many times. I almost asked what happened, but something in her posture, the way her shoulders tightened, told me not to. Instead, I told her about dropping out of my engineering program last year, about the part-time jobs, about not knowing what came next. She smiled faintly. "That's the nice thing about being 22. You can still admit you don't know." I laughed, but it stuck in my throat. "What about you? Do you know?" Her eyes met mine, steady. "I know what I miss, and I know what I don't want anymore." She set her cup down with a soft clink. "The rest? Not so much." The air between us shifted then, not dramatic, not obvious, but in a way I felt in my chest. The kind of quiet where every word might matter too much. I should have looked away. I should have changed the subject. Instead, I noticed the faint crease at the corner of her mouth when she half smiled, the way one silver strand of hair curled against her cheek. I thought of the risk, the obvious one. She was old enough to be my mother. Maybe old enough to be my friend's mother if I had the right friend. And yet, That didn't feel like the biggest danger. The real danger was how easy it was becoming to want her. She must have seen something in my face, because her expression softened. "You know," she said quietly, "I almost canceled class today." "Why?" Her gaze dropped to her cup. "I woke up feeling heavy. Some days are like that. But then I thought, maybe someone needs me to show up." I wanted to tell her I was glad she did. I wanted to tell her she had already been in my head long before today. But I didn't. The rain outside thickened, blurring the streetlight glow into soft halos. She stood to close the window, and I caught the faint scent of her, clean, warm, something that made my stomach tighten. When she sat back down, her knee brushed mine under the small table. She didn't pull away. Neither did I. The rain was louder now, drumming on the glass like it wanted in. Clara's knee was still against mine when a sharp knock echoed from the front of the studio. She froze. Another knock, harder this time. "I should," she murmured, already standing. She didn't look at me as she went to the door, only pulling her cardigan tighter. I stayed in the kitchen, listening. A man's voice, low, sharp. I couldn't make out the words, just the rhythm of it. Then her voice, quiet but strained. When she came back, her smile was forced. "Just someone I used to know." The lie was too thin. "Your ex?" I asked before I could stop myself. She looked at me for a long second, as if deciding whether I could handle the truth. "He doesn't like letting go of things. Or people." I didn't know what to say. My chest felt tight. I'd never been someone else's problem before. She busied herself with stacking cups, avoiding my eyes. "You should probably head home before it gets worse out there." She was trying to end it. This moment, whatever we were building, before it got dangerous. And she was probably right. But I didn't move. "You think I can't handle it?" I said. Her head turned just enough for me to see the faintest smile. "You're too young to have to." The distance between us was barely 2 steps. I took one. She stayed still. For a second, the storm outside seemed to hush. I could see the way her breath caught, the way her hand tightened on the edge of the counter. If I leaned in, just slightly, I could kiss her. She must have felt it too, because her eyes softened, almost closed. Then her phone buzzed again, lighting up the counter between us. The name flashing there made her flinch. I stepped back. She exhaled, looking down. "You should go." I nodded, but my hand brushed hers as I took my coat from the chair. Neither of us pulled away this time. The touch lingered, too long, too much, and when I left, it felt like the rain was the only thing keeping me from turning back. I hadn't planned on seeing her again so soon. But the next evening, I found myself outside the studio, watching through the rain-smeared glass as she taught a small group. She moved between the mats, calm, collected, like last night had never happened. When class ended, she spotted me before I could decide whether to go in. For a moment, her expression faltered. Then she waved the last student goodbye and locked the door behind them. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice low. I wanted to talk. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "This isn't a good time." I should have left, but instead I said, "Who was he?" "The man last night." Her jaw tightened. "You don't need to. Was he the reason you wanted me to go?" Something flickered in her eyes. Irritation, maybe fear. "You think this is about him?" She stepped closer, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "You're the problem, not him." The words hit harder than I expected. "I'm the problem?" She looked away, pacing toward the window. "You're young. You're persistent. And you don't see how dangerous this is for me." I laughed under my breath, but it wasn't amused. "Dangerous? You think I haven't thought about the risk?" "You think I haven't." I stopped, swallowing the rest. Her gaze locked on mine. "Haven't what?" The silence stretched, thick and unsteady. My hands curled at my sides. "Haven't thought about you. Every night. Every time I close my eyes." She didn't move, just breathed, slow and uneven. "You shouldn't say that." "But it's true." I took a step closer. "And you feel it too." She shook her head, but her voice betrayed her. "I can't. I shouldn't." "Then tell me to go," I said. "Right now?" "Tell me, and I will." Her eyes stayed on mine for what felt like forever. Then, finally, she whispered, "I can't." I was close enough to feel the warmth of her breath, close enough to see the pulse in her throat. My hand almost reached for hers, and then the sound of keys rattling outside the front door made us both freeze. The door opened before either of us could move. A younger woman stepped inside, maybe mid-20s, damp hair sticking to her cheeks. She froze when she saw me, then looked at Clara with a shock I couldn't read. "Mom," she said. The word punched the air out of me. Clara's eyes closed for a second, just long enough to confirm what I already feared. Her daughter. "I didn't know you were," Clara started, but her daughter's voice cut through. "Who is he?" I opened my mouth, but Clara's hand shot out, a silent don't. "Just a student," she said. Too quickly. Her daughter looked between us, suspicion sharpening with every second. "It's raining. I came to borrow the car." She grabbed the keys from the hook, her movements clipped, deliberate. As she turned to leave, her gaze landed on me again. "See you around, student." The door shut hard behind her. Clara stayed still, staring at the place where her daughter had been. Her hands trembled when she finally turned back to me. "You never told me you had a daughter," I said quietly. "There are a lot of things I didn't tell you," she whispered. "Like what?" Her eyes were wet now, though she blinked hard. "Like the fact that she's only 2 years younger than you, and that she works at the cafe you've been going to every morning." The pieces slammed together in my head. The glances from behind the counter, the way the barista had asked my name like she already knew it. "You think she knows?" I asked. Clara shook her head. "Not yet. But she will. She always does." The weight of it settled in. This wasn't just an age gap anymore. This was a tangle of lives I hadn't even realized I'd stepped into. I took a step toward her. "So what now?" Her voice broke just enough for me to hear it. "Now, we have to decide whether this ends here, or we ruin everything." I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not when she was looking at me like that. Like she already knew which one I'd choose. It was 3 days before I saw her again. I told myself I wouldn't go to the studio. I even took the long way home just to avoid passing it. But on the third night, as the sun slid behind the rooftops and the air smelled like rain again, I found myself standing at her door. She opened it like she'd been expecting me. For a while, we just stood there. Her eyes were tired, but her voice was steady. "She asked about you." My stomach tightened. "What did you say?" "That you were just someone from class. Nothing more." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was the biggest lie we'd told yet. "I can stop coming," I said. The words were heavy in my mouth. Her gaze held mine, searching for something. "Is that what you want?" I didn't answer. Instead, I stepped inside, shutting the door behind me. The studio was quiet, lit only by a single lamp. I could hear the soft hum of the heater, the faint tick of the clock. "I tried to convince myself this wasn't worth the risk," she said, crossing her arms. "But the truth is, you've been in my head since the day you walked in here." The confession landed somewhere deep in me, the same place my own words had been sitting, unspoken. "I don't care if it's complicated," I said. "I don't care about the age gap, or your ex, or," I hesitated, "or your daughter. I just don't want to pretend this isn't real." She stepped closer. I could see her breath in the dim light, the way her hand almost reached for mine before she stopped herself. "You understand?" she whispered. "If we do this, there's no going back." I nodded. "I don't want to go back." Her lips curved, not into a full smile, but something softer, something that felt like surrender. And then she kissed me. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It was slow, deliberate, like we'd both been holding our breath for weeks and finally let it go. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. "Then I guess we're doing this," she murmured. I didn't say anything. I just kissed her again. Outside, the rain started, tapping against the window like it had the night we met.